Hey guys, this is Jennifer, and this is the Jennifer Allwood Show, the podcast where you learn how to create a beautiful home and build a creative business. Grab a cup of coffee, find a cozy spot in the house, and let's chat. I'm excited you're here. Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the podcast this week. I'm super excited to have you here again and just appreciate you showing up week after week, listening so loyally and sharing our content with your friends and family. Thank you. We appreciate you more than you know. So today we're going to talk about why working hard in your business is overrated. And this is going to be a fun podcast. I'm super passionate about this topic, and hopefully that will come through in what I'm about to share with you. And hopefully you will also get to a place after this podcast where you can understand that contrary to what you've been told, contrary to what you've been taught, that working hard is not what's going to grow your business or your bank account. I personally am so tired of seeing all these memes on Facebook and Instagram saying things like, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't show up, or, hard work pays off, or hard work is the key to success. It feels to me like such a load of crap, because if that were true, my friends, I want you to think about this for a second. If all that was necessary for success was working hard, then people that work on farms would be rich. Line workers would be rich. Single mothers who are working 2 and 3 jobs to make their ends meet would be rich. Trash people that come to your house week after week so faithfully pick up your trash, they would be rich because they are working hard. Think of all the hard workers that you personally know, and then I want you to think how many of those people actually have freedom in their finances. The problem with the thinking that hard work will lead to success is that wealth is not tied to hard work. Wealth is tied to smart work. Can somebody tweet that? Come on now. Let me say it one more time. Wealth is not tied to hard work. Wealth is tied to smart work. I'm guessing if I were to poll you listener right now, who's on the other side of this podcast, that there would be a large percentage of you who would say, Jennifer, man, I'm working my bleepity bleep off and nobody's working harder than I am. And yet you're perhaps still not seeing the results that you want in your business. Am I right? And so here is why. Successful businesses come from people who are working smart and not working hard. Because those business owners know where to focus their efforts. They know what they need to ignore. They know what needs their attention. They know what needs to be overlooked. They are working smart. So this is our topic for today, and I'm super excited about it. But first, I want to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by my very own Inner Circle. So this is the Inner Circle that is my private coaching group for entrepreneurs. We have not had a public opening of this group since January. That is when I last closed the doors to the Inner Circle so that we could focus on everyone who is currently in the group. So Inner Circle is my monthly coaching group where I teach people how to build their online platform so that they can make dollars. Because here is the hashtag truth, okay? You can have the very best product or service or course or merchandise or whatever on the planet. But I promise you that if you do not have an audience to get that thing in front of, or if you can't find the right people online to sell it to, it literally does not matter. You have got to be able to build an audience online that you sell your stuff to. That's the only way you're going to be able to find customers. So I teach you in my Inner Circle how to build your audience. We do reopen the doors on September the 24th of this current year. So you can go to jenniferallwood.com/inner circle so that you get notified when we do reopen on September the 24th. So we're going to start this podcast today with a quote. All right. Are you ready? This quote is from entrepreneur and life strategist Blaze Coase. I think his name is Blaze. Could be Blaz. I'm thinking it's Blaze. If you know him, please do not let him know that I just totally just sliced up his name all over this podcast. But I love this saying from him so much. Okay. Here's what it is. Hard workers want all the possible work to be done. But smart workers don't bother with most of the work that they should do. Instead, smart workers brutally focus on the tasks that bring the longest term impact to their business. Okay, I am going to read that again because when I read that saying from him, it brought such conviction to me. Okay, so we're going to say it one more time. So hard workers want all the possible work to be done. Smart workers don't bother with most of the work they should do. Instead, they brutally focus on only the tasks that bring the biggest impact to their business long term. So here's what I love about that, okay? Because I can remember being at a time when I was working really hard. And when I think about the first part of this saying, hard workers want all the possible work to be done, that used to be me. And if I'm being super duper honest with you guys, there's times when I still like, my tendency is still to like kind of veer off into that lane, veer off in the lane. I want my inbox cleaned out. I want my DMs all responded to. I want my list checked off. I have a great, by the way, blog post about that we can put in the show notes about why some people are just seriously addicted to crossing things off of the list. If you want that, go to the show notes and we'll share that with you. And so I know that there's been so many times in my business when I've done that. But what he's saying is smart workers don't do most of the stuff that other people think that they should. Here's the word that I love the most. Instead, they brutally focus on only the tasks that bring the longest term impact. And the reason I love that is because he used the word brutally. And when you think about brutally, I mean, it means it's hard, right? So I think when I read this quote from Blaze, we'll just call him Blaze, I think that what stands out to me is the understanding that it's all of our natural tendencies as entrepreneurs to want to focus on all the things, especially if you're like a super responsible person. And I'm going to do a podcast one of these days, my friends, about being an SRP, a super responsible person, because that is me. And I'm guessing it's a lot of you entrepreneurs also. So when you are an SRP and you have like this long laundry list of things that need done in your business, it is brutally hard to only focus on the things that are going to have the biggest impact, right? So let's talk about his quote. Let's talk about hard work. And I want to start off by talking about the fact that I come from a very long line of really hard workers, all right? Both my parents and my grandparents were hard workers. I come from farmers on both sides of my families. We grew up in Iowa. So on both sides of the family, we had farmers. I mean, I don't know anybody that works harder than farmers, by the way. And my dad was not a farmer, but my dad worked in a packing plant. And then he actually got to where he owned a packing plant. And so my dad was rarely, if ever, home before 6 o'clock at night. Like he put in the hours. And I think he worked nearly every Saturday that I can remember growing up. And you know what? He did well. And so I wanted to start by just saying this, that I do come from a long line of hard workers. And I was raised with the understanding that, Jennifer, you need to work hard and you will get to where you want to go in life through that hard work. And that's, what my family trained me with. And hard working in and of itself is so honorable, my friends. Even the Bible talks about lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. Okay. So that's in Proverbs. So hard work is honorable. And you should always want to be giving your best efforts by working hard. But what I want us to start doing as entrepreneurs is to measure our results in our business and not be measuring the hours of effort. Okay, so let me say that again. I want you and I to measure the results of our business, or measure our business by results and not by the hours of effort. And this is a really hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, okay? I coach in my inner circle and my Creators Roadmap course over 2,000 entrepreneurs every month. And so I've seen over and over it happened that oftentimes entrepreneurs will start to gain some success, okay? So literally, like, their business will really start to take off. They'll actually see some money showing up in their bank account and be like, hey, and I'm celebrating and they're celebrating, and things are really starting to click. Maybe they finally figure out how to do an affiliate income thing. Maybe they finally figure out, how to make money from blog revenue and ads and all of that. So some things actually start happening. They start gaining some success. They start getting some money in their bank account, and they actually could continue. They could start throttling back on some of the hard work that they've been doing in terms of hours. I think there is a season for everything. And there is a season to build. And for some of you, you might be in a season of hustle and scramble and needing to work your buns off for a season. But that is really unsustainable, my friends, for the long term. And we're going to talk about that in a second. So sometimes entrepreneurs will start seeing this level of success, right? And they'll be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so they could actually be cutting back on the hours that they're working, but instead they continue to fill it with 60 hours a week. They literally could start taking some time off for the first time in years for their business, but they don't. They could be adding things back in that they love that maybe they've had to put off for a season while they were in business growth mode. Things like exercise, things with lunch with friends, things that they enjoyed doing just for the sake of doing. But out of guilt and old habits, entrepreneurs will often continue working really long hours. And I want you to know that I've seen it time and time again, and I've also done it. And so let me let you in on this little tiny secret, okay? Every single one of you is going to be able to relate to this, by the way. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. I think this is called like Parkinson's law. Don't quote me on that. I can't pronounce Blaze's name, and I can't really quote where. I think it's something like Parkinson's law. But it basically says that work will expand to fill the time available that you have for its completion. This is why you'll have a day off and you'll get nothing done. You'll be completely unproductive, but yet you can get 15 things done on your lunch hour. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Essentially, when we have all the time, we get nothing done. And when we have very little time, then we can really rock and roll. So in other words, if you give yourself like an entire day to write your blog post, to schedule your social media, and send out 5 emails to potential clients, it will take you all day to do that. But if you want to shorten your workday and maybe the kids are getting home from school or something like that to 3 hours, you will also get that same amount of work done in that time. Does that make sense? So when we first started out here talking about the difference between hard work and smart work, I think we as entrepreneurs first need to wrap our heads around the fact that working less hours are okay. When it comes to working smart, we should be measuring the results, remember that, and not the hours that we're putting in. Hard work should not equal long work. And that, my friends, is tweetable. Hard work should not equal long work. So if you've been fed the BS, which is rampant right now, you guys, it is like, it's just gross. If you've been fed the BS that you have to be up before dawn, be working after hours when you should be, spending time with your spouse, be putting in time on the weekends, that you need to be, traveling for business when that's not really what you want to do. If you have been fed the BS as this is what it takes for a business to be successful, I just want you to seriously pause and literally understand, wrap your head around the fact that working at that speed for an extended amount of time can only last for so long, because that kind of hustle is going to lead you to burnout. That kind of hustle will lead your family to resenting the heck out of your business. That kind of hustle is literally going to steal some of your joy because you're working all the time and you're not playing. I think often we feel great about ourselves because we're putting in the time, we're putting in the necessary work, we're working our tails off, and everybody else thinks that we're super successful. But what is the cost of that? Okay, what is the cost? If we are super honest, my friends, I think that as entrepreneurs, it is so easy for so many of us to become workaholics, right? Because we love what it is that we do. And when we start out, it doesn't even feel like work. And if you're a creative entrepreneur, you're like, this is the freaking jam. I mean, I get to play and paint or make stuff or make things pretty or decorate houses or whatever all day long. Like, it doesn't feel like work, right? And so many of us entrepreneurs, literally, we're either workaholics or we're recovering workaholics. And workaholics, you guys, are not heroes. I wrote down this saying that my Facebook ads guy, Mike, told me one time. And I put it on a Post-it note, and I had it in our old house behind my desk for years. And it said, I don't want to be known as the busiest guy in the graveyard. And I'm like, whoa, how powerful is that? How powerful is that? There is absolutely no honor in being the busiest person someone knows. I know that there was one time, I would say it was 3 or 4 years ago, when I was talking to my friend Ashley at church, and Ashley said, oh my gosh, you are like the busiest person I know. And she said it in a really sweet way. And I walked away from that conversation, you guys, just feeling like I'd been sucker punched. She probably has no idea. I'm so glad that she said it to me, because I walk away from that conversation thinking there is absolutely no honor in being the busiest person someone knows. I don't want to be busy. Who the hell wants to be busy? Bees are busy. I mean, I don't want to be working at that breakneck speed and have no time for the things that literally are the most important to me. I mean, I have personally said for years that if I am super successful at business, but have failed as a wife or a mother, then I have not been successful at all. Like, none of that business success will matter to me. And so I do think when we're talking about working hard and working smart, that we also need to determine what success in our business would look like for each of us. For me, When I feel successful in business is when I have freedom in both of my time and in my money. Okay. So let me just expand on that for just a second. If I'm making a ton of money, but have to sell my soul to get it, then no, thank you. I mean, if I don't get to spend time with Mr. Magic and the kids, if I'm missing all of the things that are important to them, if they're seeing mom make business a priority over them, if they're feeling slighted and we still have a, ton of money in the bank, like who cares? That is not success for me. And on the flip side of that is if I have all the time in the world, but have no money in the bank to do anything, then that's not success either. I mean, if I have tons of time to be with Mr. Magic and our babies, and we, are able to be home all day, every day, and sing Kumbaya, whatever, but we don't have any money in the bank, well, that's not success to me either. So for me, I need to have both the availability of time and the availability of money. That's that's my personal measuring stick for my own success. And so that often means that I'm setting up things in my business so that I'm getting paid even when I'm not working. And that, in my opinion, is how you work smart. So let's talk about working smart actually could mean for every entrepreneur listening. So if I'm trying to get you away from the mindset of working hard, because hard leads to burnout. Hard leads to hard, guys. Hard leads to hard, dang it. Tweet that too. So on the flip side then, well, what does working smart actually look like? What does that actually mean? So I think that people that work smart understand where to focus their time. They understand what relationships to leverage and pour into. They understand the need for automating tasks. We're going to talk about that a little bit deeper here. They understand delegating. They understand things like the need to quit multitasking. You have all probably been fed the BS to multitask. While it's fine to wash dishes and listen to my podcast, it is not fine for you to be trying to type up a blog post and to be listening to me at the same time. Like those are two things that both require brain power, and our brain only has the capacity to work in that way, one thing at a time. So I know that you've been fed the BS to multitask, and that's great if you're putting on mascara. It's not great if you have two things that require attention that you're trying to do at the same time. If you're in my inner circle and listening to one of my coaching calls, and at the same time you're answering emails while you're doing that and wondering why you're not getting anything out of my content or why the email had errors in it, honey, you don't need to worry. Because you were trying to do two things at once, okay? So, just like the Bible talks about hard work, the Bible also talks about smart work. It just doesn't say that, all right? Because the Bible talks about how God gives us wisdom to gain wealth. And wisdom is doing the smart work and not the hard work. So working less hours with duplicated results. Like I want the work that you do to be like compound interest. Okay. So you do the smart work, and then it just keeps it keeps growing and growing and growing, so that the smart work that you do will bring you success faster and easier. So let's talk about, just on a really practical level, what are some things you could do to be working smarter in your business? Okay. So here's where you get out a pen and paper. And this is where you forward the podcast, by the way, to all of your overworked, hardworking friends. All right. So one thing you could do, number one, is you can be delegating. So what I'm about to say is going to sting a little, but listen, we have to rethink our whole mind frame if we are going to be powerful business owners and not just cute hobbyists. And I say that with all the love in my heart. But when it comes to being you are the owner of your business, you are the CEO of your business, that means you should no longer be prepping furniture, my friends. You should not be the one out there in the garage taking the handles off of your furniture and sanding that bad boy. If you're trying to run a furniture empire at some point, you should not be the one who is out in your garage labeling boxes for shipment. Was there a time for that in your business? Absolutely. And perhaps you're in that period of time right now where you're still just getting things up off the ground. You're still just getting everything clicking and rolling, and that's fine. But for a lot of you listening, honey, that time has passed. That ship has sailed. Now you're just being anal. Now you're just being a control freak. Now you're just still wanting to have your hand in every part of your business. And I will tell you, if you refuse to delegate and if you want to still be up in every piece of your business, it is going to keep your business small. I love you, but that's the God honest truth. You have got to start delegating if you want your business to grow. Smart work includes delegating, okay? Smart work means You're hiring things like a cleaning lady. It's so funny. In my inner circle, they know I talk about this all the time. And it's not because we are above as entrepreneurs cleaning our own home. That is not what I'm saying at all. It is because, is it the best use of my time to spend? Well, let me give you a good example. Okay. So in our old house, I won't talk about our new house, but here's the best example I can give you. In our old house, it took our cleaning lady, who I just love with all my heart, by the way. If she leaves me ever, I will cry. Alligator tears. But we hired a cleaning person, I would say 12 years ago. Okay. So it's been a minute since we've had a cleaning person. And the reason we did is because I was staying home during the day, raising babies and also managing our business. Right. And so if I had Mary Sue come in and clean our house, at the old house, it was like 6 hours of work. It would cost $125 or $150, whatever it ended up being. And she would be there for 6 straight hours. And she was humping the whole time. I mean, she's like a tornado cleaning your house. She comes in and she is just, she's fast. She's working hard. She loves cleaning. Thank you, Jesus, for people that love cleaning. Now, me, on the other hand, before we had somebody come in and clean our home, that same 6 hours that it took Mary Sue, oh, honey, it would take me like 10. And while it took me 10, I would absolutely have on my pissy pants because I would be thinking to myself, how are we this filthy? How are my kids this dirty? Where am I failing as a mother that they cannot hit the toilet with their potty? Come on, moms. I mean, let's be honest. Does anybody else know what I'm talking about? And so I would have on my pissy pants thinking about how I needed to be blogging, how I needed to be taking pictures of a project, how I needed to be, faxing somebody, this was 10 or 12 years ago, an estimate, how I needed to be outbidding something. And instead, I'm mopping the floors. And so here is what we finally had this aha moment about one day. My rate to go outside of the home and to paint, to do touch-ups, for me to, whip out a decorative painting on something, to stencil a bathroom or whatever, it was $100 an hour. So if I would go while Mary Sue was at our house cleaning for 6 hours, if I would go work during that 6 hours, I would get paid $600. Mary Sue would be at my house and I would pay her $125 of that $600. So I think where a lot of people get caught up on the cleaning lady piece of it, or having anybody to come clean your home, is they think, well, why would I have somebody do that? Well, honey, you've got other things you need to be doing to grow your business during that same amount of time. It's not like you're going to have somebody come into your home and start cleaning and you're going to be going upstairs, taking a nap and eating bonbons. You are not up there watching Guiding Light or General Hospital or any other trash that's still on TV. You're actually going to be focused on money generating activities during the same time somebody is there cleaning your home. And so I do have a whole podcast on hiring help. If you need to go listen to that, I want you to listen to that. Find that in the show notes, and we'll go from there, because that was a good podcast too. I have one on delegating and hiring help. So that's what all I've got to say about that. But man, I get excited about the cleaning lady stuff. I'm so grateful for people that help us in terms of cleaning our home, and what a blessing it can be to another woman's business and another woman's family to do that. All right. So another way you can work super smart is to put systems in place. All right. For us creative people, a lot of times we'll hear the word systems and we'll be like, la, 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 la. Don't want to hear it. Sounds techie. Don't want to do it. Come on now, creatives. I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. But here's the deal. Think of it like this way. Like if you have somebody who places an order for something you make online, and then you sit down and you like manually send them out a thank you. And then you have to manually send them like a receipt for their stuff. And then you have to go print out their invoice. And then you have to put the invoice, in a special folder. And then on Tuesdays, you get that special folder and I don't even know what the process looks like. Okay. So let me just quit like pulling that out of my butt. But here's what I'm saying. There are so many ways to automate that process, my friends. Will it take a little bit of a learning curve in the beginning? Absolutely. But quit doing all that stuff manually by hand. Put some systems into place that will actually make you appear even more of a legit business to your clients, right? And so putting systems in place is what smart business owners do. Another thing I want you to do, if you want to work smart, I want you to look at what you're doing in your business, and I want you to figure out what accounts for about 80% of your income. In all of our businesses, there's usually like the one thing. It may not be the thing you want necessarily, but it's the thing that literally does bring in the most amount of the income. It just goes with the 80-20 rule. So I want you to figure out what's determining the 80% of your income, because this is what smart work looks like. And then I want you to double down on that. Okay. And then let me give you the flip side of that also. I also want you to look at what brings you the majority of your stress in your business. What's like the 80%? What causes you 80% of your stress? Okay. If it's not the thing that's bringing you in 80% of your income, then you need to let that piece of your business go. I mean, it may be bringing you in a few bucks, but who cares? So you don't need to make $26 this month writing 4 blog posts that took you 8 hours. You don't need to make 26 bucks on ad revenue, when instead you could be writing an email to your list and make that $26 in like the next 10 minutes by shooting out an email to your clients that you have something new for sale. Does that make sense? So figure out what accounts for 80% of your income and double down on that. That's what smart work looks like. Also, if you want to work smarter, I want you to quit when you are exhausted. Now, here's what happens with most entrepreneurs. They push because they've been fed the BS that pushing, hustling, working harder, that's what's going to get them to their goals. Absolutely not. And then they get exhausted and then they get sloppy. And then they get exhausted and then they turn joyless. And then they get exhausted and the people in their family, the people that mean the most to them, are getting the leftovers. Ladies, this is not how it should be. If we're going to say that our family is the most important, we cannot give them the leftovers of our energy. That is so unfair to them. So entrepreneur friends, when you're exhausted, you need to stop. You need to really understand your energy levels. For me, I'm totally, you're either a rooster or an owl. You're either a morning person or you're a late person. I am completely a morning person, which means all of my hard work, I'm going to get done before noon every single day. I'm going to leave stuff that doesn't require a whole lot of brain power for after lunch. So I want you to also to look at like your energy levels and figure out, okay, the hardest stuff I want you doing when you are most at your best, when you have the majority of your brain cells working. Because when it comes like 3 p.m., honey, I'm done. I can't rub 2 brain cells together and make sense of anything anymore. So my team knows anything that is important, we're going to have those meetings before lunch. Any trainings I need to do, we're going to do it before lunch when Jen is at her best. And when I'm exhausted, I'm stopping. And I'm stopping. Another way of working smart is to quit selling one-to-one and to sell one-to-many. Okay, listen, a lot of you have gone through my Creators Roadmap course. If you haven't, you can check it out. We will not reopen until next year, but it is at creatorsroadmap.com, okay? So you know that I am a proponent of one-on-one coaching, and I think that there's definitely a season for that. But I think there will also come a time when you have to look at you only have so much time available for one-on-one coaching. And there will be a time when it makes way more sense to move to a group coaching style. Maybe you've heard this referred to as a membership group or a subscription group, also a mastermind. There's many different ways that you can make this look. But when you continue to sell one-to-one, that means one-to-one tutoring, one-to-one coaching, one-to-one anything, one-to-one meetings, you are missing out on the available income of selling one-to-many. I don't coach over 2,000 people a month on a one-to-one basis. I coach those people in a group setting. And it's super powerful. Can you still get with me one-on-one? Well, absolutely. But that is a lot different price point than everything else that I'm offering. So quit selling one-to-one. Figure out what you can do that you're selling one-to-many. Okay. Also, smart work is having evergreen content so that money is always coming in. So what does that look like? Well, it looks like this. It looks like having some way that people can spend money with you every day, whether that's an open shopping cart. If you're at this point a creative who's teaching people online, do you have something open all the time that they can purchase from you? Right now, the only thing that you can purchase from me is my Paint Finish of the Month group. But it's evergreen content. I used to sell all of my, coaching classes on pricing and things like being an affiliate and how to make affiliate income. I used to sell a lot of those things in one-off products. And instead now they all come when you buy my coaching program, when you get inside of my inner circle or when you get inside of my Creators Roadmap. And so, but I still do have that Paint Finish of the Month group so that there's still a way every single day for people to be signing up for my products. And these last 2 things on ways you can work smart are super fun. Okay. Number 1, I want you to use shortcuts, you guys. Listen, some of you entrepreneurs, we sometimes, I think we make it let me rephrase that. We make it so much harder than it is. I can't even get that out. We make it so much harder than it is. Let me give you a good example. I love to write, but guess what I love to do more? I love to talk. So, yes, this introvert. That's right. I love to talk. And it's easier for me to talk than it is to write. Am I a decent writer? Absolutely. I've been blogging for over a decade. I love writing. I have a free prayer book for entrepreneurs. If you don't know where that's at, by the way, you can go to jenniferallwood.com/devotional, or maybe it's at jenniferallwood.com/prayer. My team's they're going to scold me for not even knowing the difference. But it's one of those places. I wrote that ebook, so I love writing. I'm working with someone right now to get a book published. Okay, so I love writing, but I love talking, and talking is easier for me and doesn't require the same editing. It doesn't require the same brain power. It doesn't require the same effort. So one of the shortcuts we use on my team is that I voice record a lot of my blog posts to my team. I will literally go to the voice recorder, which comes free on an iPhone, and speak out something that I need typed up and send it to one of them and they'll type it. That is a smart shortcut. Okay. Let me give you another example of a way of working smart. Use technology, my friends. Let me give you another example of just another thing we do to work smart on our team. Instead of getting stuck in like email hell, you know what I'm talking about, where your inbox is so full and there's so many back and forths between you and your assistant, or you and your team, or you and whoever. Oh no, we use Voxer. And if you guys don't know what Voxer is, it is life-changing. It's a free app. I do the $2.99 version. I just paused there because I said I do. And every time I say that, my husband says do. Yeah, 13-year-old humor. So if you've never used Voxer, it's a free app and it's a game changer if you have anybody that you work with on a regular basis. Voxer is one of my favorite business tools listed on my free list of business tools. If you do not have that, this is the freebie I want to give you on this podcast right now. I want you to go to jenniferallwood.com/biz tools. That's BIZ-tools. And it's like my list of all of our favorite apps and our favorite software that we use in my business. It's totally free, just as a gift to you. And it talks on there about Voxer because it's so much easier for my team. Voxer is like a walkie-talkie, and we just walkie-talkie each other back and forth through the day instead of going into this email bottomless pit spiral crap where there's 50 different things going back and forth and it just wasted 3 days. And instead we could have worked this out in 3 minutes on Voxer. Okay. So my friends, once you begin to work smart, you should be able to work less hard. And I want you to understand that you shouldn't feel guilty when you work less hard and when you're not working all the darn time. Remember, this is one of the reasons you became an entrepreneur in the first place, right? And I want you to remember that saying from the beginning of the podcast. And the poor gentleman's name that I cannot pronounce, Blas Koss, I think is his name. I'm going to have to just get off here and Google it. But I want you to remember that saying that he said. Smart workers don't bother with most of the work they do. Instead, they brutally focus on the tasks that bring the longest term impact to their business. So focus on those things. I hope that this podcast was a blessing, my friend. And if so, would you tell your friend or your neighbor, would you share this on social media for me so that we can get this in front of other entrepreneurs who are hustling, who are working hard, so that even if they're just beginning, so that they're starting out on the right foot. Okay. And don't forget to go to iTunes and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button on this podcast. That way you're notified every Wednesday when I come out with a new episode. And lastly, if you're on iTunes, would you just leave us a review, my friends? The reviews are just so important in terms of getting podcast sponsors, in terms of ratings. And I've always said, if you guys will DM me a screenshot on Instagram of your podcast review, I'll do a little video back to you on Instagram. And so I do want to just read a review for you that we got this week from Sassy Home. And I just was so appreciative of her review. And this is what she said. She's never listened to a podcast before joining my Inner Circle coaching group. Yay. Let me just say, first of all, yay. If I could put all the celebration emojis on here right now, I would. And now she said, but now I can't stop listening to the podcast because they're so encouraging. And also, she's a straight shooter who doesn't let you make excuses for your lack of action. Oh my gosh, girl, thank you. And then she goes on to say a few other things. But I just want you to know, Sassy Home, I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the 1 or 2 minutes that it took you to write the review. And I just pray God's blessing over you and your business. So thank you, Sassy Home. So to you, my friends who's listening to the podcast this week, I hope you have an amazing week at work. I hope you can look at some of the things that you're doing and figure out how to do it smarter and not harder. I hope that you will take some time to just maybe look at some of the things you're doing in your business and just try to figure out where you can double down your efforts. How can you quit working all these ridiculous hours and get your life back? Man, some of us entrepreneurs, there was a time, you guys, a couple of years ago when I was in knee deep and I had to get my life back. Some of you need to get your life back too. Okay. All right. Bless you, my friends. Until next week, I want you to stay creative. Bye-bye. Hey friend, thank you so much for listening to the podcast again this week. I'm so honored that you're here and that you just listen week in and week out and that you share the Jennifer Allwood Show with your friends and family. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey, don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, or if you're an Android user, go download the Stitcher app and you can subscribe there so that you know every single week when a new episode releases. Also, if you have any time to leave us a review, these reviews are super important in getting guests for the show and sponsors for the show. And so we'd appreciate it if you have just a second to leave us a review. That would be amazing. Thank you guys again for being here. And until next week, stay creative.